It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Wednesday, July 23rd, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, do not follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have World Media, the Evangelism Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And yes, it is a wonderful and awesome Wednesday. I can't believe we're already in the middle of the week and we only have 1 week left in July, which is pretty crazy, guys. We're already going to be going into August pretty soon. August for me is like the end of summer, so guys, it's already here that quickly. Tomorrow we have Q&A Thursday. But it's not just tomorrow. Every single week, get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And if you haven't yet, for today's video, please leave a like and comment and build this community together. Just very, very happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday Mesh title, The Grain and the Husk, Chaff Like Faith. All right, so it is Wednesday. It's been a long week for me, just from my current opinion so far of all the different things that happened, like even starting from Monday, being with Massimo, having the interviews, translation and all these other different things. But it was very, very exciting, very thankful that I was able to have this really busy weekend and busy, the week has been busy already too. Today, I actually just got back from the hospital. So the doctors want to give me like a kind of what you call like a mid, like not a mid, but like it's been 6 weeks. So I'm getting a checkup. He looked at my stitching. He says, "Oh, everything's going well." He looked at the mobility of my tendon, and he's like, "Oh, actually, he's actually surprised that I'm able to." What's the word? I can kind of bend my foot so a little bit higher than 90 degrees. So he's like, "Oh, we can readjust your boot and stuff like that too." But he seemed very, I'm not going to say surprised, but the way he looked at my foot is kind of like, maybe a surprise. He's like going, "Oh, wow. It's only been 6 weeks and you're already like this." And he's like, "Oh, okay. So we're going to adjust your boot so it can stretch your tendon a little bit higher than 90 degrees, or I guess lower, right? And you don't need to wear crutches. You can just kind of walk around a little bit more. It's going to be," he's like, "just exercise at home. You don't need to even wear the boot when you're at your house." But technically speaking, I have not been wearing my boot at the house for the last week and a half anyways. But, one thing that I am noticing is, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, because if I say this might sound bad, but I think it's not that we're not our own doctors per se, but we know our bodies and we can see how our bodies feel and we react. Do you know what I mean? Like when I look at ChatGPT and you look at the recovery for Achilles tendon surgery and stuff, there's always like this, what do you call it? Is it like a generalization? Not generalization, but it's just like a general things to look at. For instance, for those who have Achilles tendon surgery, they say usually first 0 to 2 weeks is like this, right? The first 0 to 2 weeks is like on crutches, immobile, right? You make sure that you're not moving your Achilles tendon, everything. You just had surgery, all these other different things. And then it's like from 2 weeks to 6 weeks, it's like this. From 6 weeks to 12 weeks, it's like this. And it kind of it gives you an idea of where you kind of should be during this time. And there's no such thing as you have to be at 6 weeks. And it's just a general timeline. And I think this is kind of very, very similar when we look at, for instance, people who are studying the Word. We could say in our countries that generally speaking, most people are, generally speaking, most people, what do you call it? Most people take this long to study the Word, right? Generally speaking. Generally speaking, it takes this long. Generally speaking, it's like this. Generally speaking, there's that general thing that we can figure out. But as our body's healing up, it's very, very easy for us to kind of feel ourselves like, oh, so it's only, it's supposed to take up to 6 weeks, but around 5 weeks, I was feeling a little bit better, you know? And I think that's kind of the same thing that we have to understand about ourselves too, is a lot of times, people are going to tell us, oh, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that, or you should be around here right now. But even when I was listening to the doctor's like, oh, you can do this. All right. So then just start doing this instead. So he's just reacting off what I'm doing kind of thing. Right. But he just has a very general timeline of, what recovery is actually supposed to look like. And the realization I was having here is yeah, it's true. Most people are going to know themselves better than others. You know what I mean? People are going to say this or oh, you should do this and you should do this and you should do this. And the reality is we know ourselves, we know our character. It doesn't mean we have to follow exactly what other people say, but because we know ourselves and our character and different parts about ourselves even better, this is why we're able to actually just sit there and say, oh, okay, this is what the general consensus is. However, for myself, this is much better for me, And I think that's something that we have to really understand well when it comes to, our personal things. Now, the place where we can get into trouble, the place that I see people get into trouble is when they take their personal things in a general setting, right? It's generally during service, everyone does this. And it's generally for the entire congregation. But in that setting, it shouldn't be well, I don't like doing that, so I'm just going to stand up anyways. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense. But I'm talking way more in that individual setting. And I'm very happy to see that I am healing up much quicker and much faster than expected. So I think even I'm in a walking boot right now. I actually think that my walking boot should be done in 6 weeks. Right, so about 6 weeks from now, in September, I am going to be going back to the hospital for another checkup, and they're just going to check to see how the healing is going. But I think from that point on, my attendance is going to be a lot more. A lot more stretched. It's going to be a lot more normal, and I'm going to be able to walk normally in about 6 weeks. So, right now, I am not normally walking because I'm in a walking boot, but definitely I am walking way better than, let's just say, even 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I got to start exercising a lot more. I'm doing it right now as I'm, listening, talking to you guys right now at this time too. Hey guys, now that, August is around the corner, you know what that means? It means that we're going to be officially starting the summer retreats. When does it start? It actually starts tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first retreat. It's for the head leaders or the leaders retreat. And that's going to be tomorrow. So that's quite exciting to know that we're kind of moving into a new phase for 2025. We're getting into the summer retreat times, which is going to go for what? It's going to go roughly for about a month and a half. I think it'll end in beginning of September. So that's another exciting thing that's going to be happening in the summer retreats. I can't wait to hear what the new, what Master Sunday Team is going to give, especially for this week's theme, which is the new history, the ideal world. And that's something I think when you look at all the messages that Sun Team's giving lately, the good thing about it is you kind of get to see, even from Providence Bible School, everything is a resetting, right? We went through the craziest and the most tumultuous times from 2023, and now that everything is settled down, we're putting in the concrete foundation once again for everyone's faith to be strong because we went through that very crazy time, And I think this is a great thing that's happening, and I hope that everyone is gaining and learning a lot from this too, because I like it. I think this is a perfect time to reestablish the foundation, and it's great that we're listening to the words again a little more, even more deeply. All the people who are really young that may not have that foundation are listening to it much better, and I think it's kind of like a fun beginning, right? And these retreats. Those of you guys who don't know this one testimony, I think this one testimony is freaking amazing. Okay, so those of you guys don't know, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest parts of the summer retreats is what? It's actually the lake, and it's to go swimming. Okay, so several weeks, like a month ago, they started to clean the lake. So they're cleaning the lake, getting everything done, and what happens is, they have to refill the lake, but it takes forever. Like you can't just put a hose in there because of the weather too. Even if you put a hose in and you start like filling the lake like 24 hours a day, during the day, because it's so hot, like the water evaporates too. So it's like you can try to put it in, but it can only reach so much. And if you want to fill that water up, it's going to cost like $30,000 to bring that much water up to fill up the lake. Okay, so here's a crazy testimony, guys. So 2 weeks ago, they're trying to fill up the water. Obviously, it just can't get filled up. And they reported to Sunsteam. So, the lake has two sides. One is the deep end and one is the shallow end, right? The deep end has to reach about 110 centimeters, 1.1 meters, right? In order for you to actually start swimming, right? In order for there to be enough water to swim everywhere, the deep end has to hit 1.1 meters. Okay, so it's like, wow, okay, so the deep end is 1.1 meters. Okay, so that's what's going on over there if you really want to swim, like just the basic to swim. The deep end 2 weeks ago was at 47 centimeters. Okay, 47, which means you're looking at like 60 plus centimeters. You have to fill up the entire lake, 60 plus centimeters. So, it was kind of a nervous thing, like, oh my gosh, we have retreats coming and it's coming tomorrow. 2 weeks ago, we're like, we're not going to have enough water. We're going to have to spend like $30,000 just to fill this, and this. So 2 weeks ago, they made a report to Sunsteam. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, they made a report to Sunsteam. Sunsteam starts praying. And then, I kid you not, guys, 2 days later, like crazy thunderstorms. Like you hear the rain go, wah, like it's that much rain. Okay. So it rained for like 2 to 3 days. And in my heart, I was like going, oh, that's amazing. It's a miracle. So how much did the water go up? It went from 47 centimeters to 70. So think about this, guys. It only filled up like less than half of what it should be. So the rain stopped again. And since it's at 70 centimeters, remember, it has to reach 110. It still wasn't working. So last week, once again, they reported Sunsteam, the water's only at 70s, like 70-something centimeters. Like, we need more rain. Sunsteam prays for it again. And I would say, starting from like 5 days ago, not off and on, there's like, of the 5 days, 3 days was crazy. Like, that rain, it sounds like, the type of rain where it's raining so hard, it sounds like the rain is angry. Do you know what I mean? Like, rah! And then like, even when you're driving, it's so crazy. Like the rain is so angry that it feels like God is throwing rain at your window kind of thing, right? And you're like, what is going on? You're putting on the windshield wipers as fast as you can, but it's coming down so hard that you just sit there like, what the heck is going on kind of thing. So for me, I thought it was quite interesting. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy how, the rain is coming down like this. And then guess what? Just 2 days ago, they said, you can swim now. Hallelujah. Like, tell me that's crazy. No, was it Sunday? Sunday or Monday? Oh, Sunday, I think. They said, you can swim now. It's reached the 110 centimeters. And it was kind of like a big thing at headquarters. We're like, wow, because, we report it and Sunsteam prayed for it and all these things happen. So everyone was excited. Everyone was super happy about that because just think about it. Tell me how crazy that sounds. That, why don't you just pay $30,000 and like put the water in? But it's so like, we're so different. Because we're so reliant and we're so everything's about God. And we're just like, can you imagine that? Oh, there's no water. 1 second, let me tell someone. And we tell something and it starts pouring. And this happened twice in the 2 weeks, right? So for me, I thought that was like a crazy testimony. Really, it really was. And now it's like retreats are now, like summer retreats have really become summer retreats because you can swim. right? That's one of the big things about a summer retreat. So, it's very, very interesting. I'm very excited to hear what Sun's going to say about these retreats, the ideal world. Like I've heard a message on it in the past about the ideal world, but I'm very, very excited to hear like what's he going to actually talk about. Yeah, like I'm excited. I can't believe we're getting towards the end of July. I can't believe August is only a week away, right? I hope all of us are. Well, I can't even say we're ready for the summer because the summer's already been here for a month. It's more of enjoy this time because the summer's going to end soon. Summer's going to end. Like for me, I think end of August for me is the time where I feel like okay, summer's done, right? And actually, I'm going to do something kind of new. And those of you guys don't know, I'm actually editing this part right now because I just spoke about Massimo and some other things he's talking about, Sunseam situation and such. And it's so good. I just finished recording it, but I'm going to just take it out and I'm going to put it as the second section. So it's supposed to be evangelism word study, but instead I'm going to talk about what Massimo talked about, like Sunseam situation and stuff. And I think it's so good that I'm going to put it as an entire second part just so you guys can listen to that as it is. So I will talk about a little bit about evangelism word study, and then we'll go into the first music break, and then we'll talk about what Massimo said. Because even people were telling me like what I talked about on Monday about Massimo, people loved it. Right? So let me just talk about the evangelism word study. Like let's go into evangelism a little bit, and then we'll go into the music break. So one thing that's kind of cool is on Monday, guys, we had another Bible study. I talked about the last days, right? The last days, the new heaven, the new earth. This came out in this week's Sunday message too. But I was very, very excited because, well, I was excited and nervous at the same time. I'll tell you why I'm nervous, because I haven't taught last days in forever. We're talking 4 years last days. Like the probably two biggest lessons I taught over the last 4 years when I taught was either the history lesson or time times half times. Like those are the only ones I really taught. So I was like totally getting into this, and I was like, okay, so I'm studying before the lesson, and it's almost like I'm learning. It's almost like me forgetting to ride a bike, and I'm listening to an old lecture of mine. Plus, I'm looking at the notes I had from the past, and I'm like, oh, I remember this verse. Ooh, I remember this verse. And it was kind of cool. It's like remembering it wasn't learning something new. It was remembering something that I had forgotten. And I was happy. I was really, really happy about it. And I was just like, wow. And I preached for about an hour and 6 minutes. And tomorrow too, people still want the replays. So we're replaying like the key lessons that I did in the past. And it's basically, I go to Zoom, I play the video, I share screen the video, and people just watch it. That's what it is, right? And I thought it was quite, I think it's kind of cool because we're getting more and more newcomers even from the replays. So I think tomorrow night we're gonna have another replay. I'm very excited about this one, and also I think one thing I think that people are doing that I've never thought about is like the people on Patreon. The people on Patreon, I do post. I record my videos on my lectures and I put it onto Patreon like lately and stuff. What people are doing is like some people are waiting for me to do a replay, but like some other people, like Wisely, they've already got the videos and all they do is they do their own replays. So they're basically just showing these newcomers replays of like what happened, like of some of the lectures over the last couple of weeks. I've done it for 2 months now, for 8 weeks. And these people are basically just showing it. They don't have to wait for my time. They can find the newcomers' time to do it. And they just do a share screen. Because, of course, we don't want to give links to anyone. We don't want this stuff to just kind of going out. So the cool thing is they're doing their own replays. And I'm like, that could actually be the wisest way to do it, where you don't have to wait for someone to do a replay. People can just do it on their own. So I was very thankful and very grateful that that people are doing that, and I'm hoping it's something that people will be able to do even for the future too. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited. It's something that I'm very, very grateful and thankful for too. Either way. So yeah. Guys, it's time to evangelize. Let's go out and make history happen. A lot of things to do, a lot of things to figure out, a lot of things that we need to get our hearts and our minds to be thinking about even more, right? So I hope that you guys are going out to evangelize a lot too. We only, it's August, which means August, September, October, November. We have 4 months, guys. We basically have 4 months to go to make as much history happen as possible. Like even for me, I know that soon I'll be like going to other countries and stuff like that too, but I ain't stopping. Like I'm not stopping the lecturing. I'm not going to stop the lecturing. I have to lecture. I have to make sure that people are, I'm not stopping these words from happening. I got to keep doing my podcast, and you guys know me. Whenever I'm out doing my podcast, you guys know that, I don't stop my podcasts, but the crazy part is going to be that these Monday night Bible studies, like 8 p.m. Korea time. So if I go to let's say I go back to Vancouver, like what time is that? 8 p.m. is 6. It's 3 a.m. in Vancouver, which means that I need to do a 3 a.m. live Bible study. I'm like, how am I going to do that? And I realized that it might actually be better for me to pre-record it. I think that might be the better way to do it. I'm not sure, but I still got to get it done. I can't take like a month break off and stuff because people will, they're not going to fully be in, they're going to forget a lot of things. So it is something that I am very much considering right now at this time too, right? Either way. All right, guys. That's the end of the first segment today. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Next will not be the evangelism word study. It's going to be Massimo's interview and some other really cool things that the way he talks about it, it's a different way of thinking. It's completely unspiritual, but it's more scholarly, it's more research, it's more psychological and sociological. So I know you guys are going to enjoy this. So, enjoy. And before we get into it, let's move into the first music break of the day.
Show him that you want it though. He can show you where you wanna be. You gotta put in words that'll be unseen. Look, and it's just like that. Take it to the golden city just with a snap. You don't even got a trip, no, we got your back. All you gotta do is sit back and relax. There's this love between you and I that is so strong. I don't wanna ever lose it, then I'll be alone. But if I leave his arms and wander, I'll be sitting all alone just to ponder. Make up your mind and act as you should. I'ma show you we can be the greatest dude that ever stood. Living with the Lord every day is like my paradise. If you leave your worries and concerns to him, you'll be alright.
Really wanna live with happiness and hope. You gotta live with the one you love the most. And don't forget that even on darkest roads, just find the Lord and grab your heart. Control your deeds. A pretty paradise right from the start.
Paradise.
All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
The weather's fine, the temperature's cool. 7 on earth, cause I'm with you. Ain't nothing better when we live forever. When we make ourselves to be one true love. Birds of a feather flock together. And it's just like that. Give you my love, cause I don't hold back. Pour me your love, cause I know you got stacks. This love is real, cause we got it like that. Sandy walks on the beach, summertime. Feel the heat, that's a love paradise. Holding hands, cool breeze, cloud 9. Make heaven together with you and I. Sandy walks on the beach, summertime. Feel the heat, that's a love paradise. Holding hands, cool breeze, cloud 9. Make heaven together with you and I.
Really wanna live with happiness and hope. You gotta live with the one you love the most. And don't forget that even on darkest roads, just find the Lord and grab your heart. Control your deeds. A pretty paradise right from the start.
Paradise.
All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
He can take you where you wanna go. 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 He can show you what you wanna know. He can show you what you wanna know. I have realized I'm not alone, because living with you is like my paradise.
All Till the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest, just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Till the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest, just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
As we're inching closer to August, remember guys, August 15th is the Netflix season 2 coming out. And they don't even call it season 2. They just say that it's a continuation from In the Name of God. And it's a different name, but it's the first season, and it looks like there's going to be another one coming after this too. So, guys, as long as they're making money and as long as they're able to get enough people to watch it, these Netflix documentaries, it's not even a documentary, but this docu-series, I don't know what you call it, they're going to keep coming out. And that's why it's really, really up to us to figure out a way where we can testify and we can really make miracles happen in this way where, I'll tell you this. Have you guys ever heard, like, say for for movie stars and for movies and stuff like this? One of the things that they said, what's the famous lines that they say is, there's no such thing as bad press. There's no such thing as bad press, right? So it's basically saying that as long as you're getting out there, as long as your face, as long as your name is constantly going out, all press is good press. I think that's what it is. All press is good press. So if you think about that, it's quite interesting that, what's going to happen is, even though Netflix is such a negative thing, if you look from a very social media, if you look from a media perspective, when Netflix comes out, it's actually an opportunity for both sides. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean it's an opportunity for both sides? Think about it this way. When people start looking at this new Netflix, like people, friends, family, people in Korea, people from all over the different countries, when they start looking at Netflix, do you think it just stops there if they're really interested? No, they're going to start searching the internet. And when they start searching the internet, they're going to come upon our stuff too, if we have our stuff already out there. And that's something that we have to think about is, do we have stuff out there? Do you know what I mean? Do we have things out there? Because Netflix is going to bring bad press, but it's going to open people's minds to Providence, and now they have an opportunity, and they're going to start searching the internet for Providence things, which also means it is an opportunity for us to also show people who we are. It's a real thing. As like I said, there's no such thing as bad press. We take the bad press, and they're going to start searching the internet, and we need to let them stumble upon our things also, right? So, it's something that I looked at and I was like, yeah, very, very important. And I think it's time for us to, really put some good stuff out on the internet so that when they look at it, they'll be able to look at it and say, oh, like this is there, this is there, this is there. It's going to be a great time. And I'm going to say even for all the people out there that are doing like YouTube and stuff like that, Netflix, that's going to be something where it's going to be a perfect opening for people to talk about this, right? And I hope it's something that we can fully take advantage of too. Now, because we have Netflix coming out pretty soon, remember I told you that I gave you some. If you guys go to the Monday podcast for this week, I did go over some stuff, like some really deep stuff of what Professor Massimo was talking about. And for those of you guys who don't know, for those of you guys who have been here since 2023 on this podcast, you guys all know who Professor Massimo Introvigne is, right? He's like 70 years old. This year he's 70 years old. He's an Italian sociologist of religion, and he focuses solely on cults or new religious movements, right? And he has this like nonprofit organization, and they say it's the highest profile lobbying and information group for controversial religions, or NRMs, which are new religious movements, or another word that people use in the world in a more negative context is the word cults. And the one thing that Massimo does say is he doesn't like using the word cults because it has such a negative connotation to it that he changed the name to new religious movements. Why? Because when you have a bad reputation or when you have a negative connotation attached to your name, then people automatically have a bias and they judge you in a different way, right? And, he is someone, he's a sociologist, he's a lawyer. He also founded the Center for Studies on New Religions, right? And he opposes anti-cult movements because he basically wants religious freedom, and he sees that there isn't religious freedom because of the way that people have biases and perceive like cults or whatever in a negative way. So remember, sociologist is like a social scientist, studies what? Human society, social behavior, social interactions, right? And he's examining individuals and groups, and he's studying them and doing research about them too. So when I had that time with him, and just like it was so cool that I was the one interviewing him. Just listening to him, I was just like, wow, like that's like he's got some, like I said, he's got gold nuggets. And there's one question I asked him about the trials, right? And he had, like I told you guys, he goes all the way deep into the history of it, and he tells you what's going on, and he has this rich knowledge, right? That when you listen to it, you're like, okay, so this guy seriously knows what he's talking about, right? So one of the things that he is kind of shocked by is that the Korean courts actually have something called quasi-rape. And he's like, it's something that is not anywhere else in the world. Quasi-rape is not really rape. Right? If you took the real term of rape, it's not the same terminology. But basically, what quasi-rape is from the Korean court system is the woman absolutely consents, but the courts are saying that this consent derives from the fact that this person is under assault of brainwashing. And like I told you on Monday, he said, in general, brainwashing does not exist. And that's why he says Providence cannot practice brainwashing because it doesn't exist. He says, I don't care about the court system. I don't care about any of those things. He's talking strictly from a scholarly perspective. And when we ask, do you think Providence has brainwashing? He says, Providence cannot brainwash because brainwashing doesn't exist. And as I told you on Monday, 99% of the sociologists that study new religious movements agree that brainwashing does not exist. 99% of scholars that study new religious movements all agree brainwashing doesn't exist. And he is what you'd call an expert witness in this area, right? So here he is talking about this quasi-rape. He's like, yeah, if you're saying that these women consented, yet they were under brainwashing. He's like, well, for me, brainwashing doesn't even exist. It's not something that's real. And then he went into the Me Too movement. Okay, so first he talks about the positives of the Me Too movement, and he says it's true. There were women who were physically sexually assaulted. And it was very difficult for them to come out. And that's why the Me Too movement was a good thing. That was one of the good aspects of the Me Too movement. But he said the bad aspect of the Me Too movement was the extension of Me Too to any sexual relation to a person of power, like a rich businessman, a boss, a pastor, a singer, an actor, anyone who has any type of power. It made it way too broad. Right? Because now it's all about manipulation, right? Like, oh, these rich businessmen, the boss of a company, the pastor of a church, a priest, a singer, an actor, they all, they're using manipulation, right? They're trying to manipulate others to sleep together with them. But then he says, but if you really think about it, manipulation is at work in many situations. Like, the problem that you're going to face in this Me Too movement is it begins to criminalize any sexual relationship, right? Think about it. When you think about manipulation, what about the people who are getting into a relationship for the sake of money, right? So what if a woman or a man has a relationship with their boss, not because they love them, but they actually want to get a higher position. Like that's manipulation too, isn't it? Like to be a gold digger, whatever it is, right? Or he was given an example in France. If you guys know the story of President Macron, Emmanuel Macron is the president of France. He married his high school teacher. Like, what is with that? Like, shouldn't that be something that could be criminalized too because of the Me Too movement? Because that's also manipulation of a high school teacher to a student. And then on top of that, can you even second guess these people's relationships? Right? How do we know if a girl decides to sleep with a man or a man decides to sleep with a woman for prestige and for power? And that's why he said that, that's the problem with the Me Too movement is it went a little too far, right? And it all of a sudden became a bonanza for making money for lawyers. And he said that many cases, because of the Me Too movement, many cases they found were completely fabricated, right? And people will say things like, 20 years ago, right? Oh, something happened and, that's not true. It didn't happen this way. And most people are not going to remember what happened 20 years ago, right? So, it's very, very interesting, like how the way he frames it, right? Says the problem now is, so what's happening is people are like reconstructing truth in a sexual relationship, and it makes it very, very difficult and tricky because they say 20 years ago, it wasn't for this, but it was this. Oh, it wasn't for this, it was this. And now there's widespread abuse of this Me Too movement, right? And he talked about all these, he talked about these cases. He said there's many horrible cases of children being horribly sexually assaulted. It's true. There are some that are true. And he says, and there are also those that are untrue. And he said that there's actually a movie about this. And in the movie, he was in it. But of course, because he was in the actual trial and someone actually portrayed him in the movie. And he said he was an expert witness for the trial. And what happened in this case, it was about a priest and a child. And in this movie, it shows that the priest was actually innocent. And the crime was imaginary. However, because of all, like the way that the lawyer was like talking against him and all this negative press that came against this priest, that priest committed suicide. Now the priest has a retirement home named after him, but think about it. He already went through the entire mess, which was fabricated. Right? But what does it show? He says, what it shows is you shouldn't believe all women, all children, all people, or all any minority or person that's not in power. It shows that we should not always believe the accusation. And this applies to children, it applies to women, people who are weak or whatever it is. And he says, in the past, right, before the Me Too movement, because we completely ignored it, that's why women couldn't come out. But now we have gone to the exact opposite extreme where we always believe children, always believe women. But yeah, it's a true statement where you could say we should normally believe children, but sometimes they lie. You see? Remember that this movie that was made because of a priest that was being accused of an imaginary crime. That child who accused that priest is now 30 years old. Okay? And a few weeks ago, that child who grew up is now 30 years old has written a book and said that the story was coerced by the lawyer. So then Massimo was like, well, where's the real violence? The real violence was not by the priest, but by the social psychologist and the prosecutor that were coercing the child to say those things, right? And what he said was, he cleared himself and he says, guys, I'm not saying that everyone is lying, right? But you cannot say that you should always believe women and you should always believe children, right? And that's something that is like, it's something where we're looking at this like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? And then he gave another story. He says, Sunstein's penalty seems to be very harsh, right? Especially compared to other quasi-rape cases, right? When you look at quasi-rape cases, most of them, I think Sunstein was saying that other quasi-rape cases are like 5 years, right? But Sunstein's was like 17. So it's kind of like, wait, that doesn't make any sense, right? So there's a book that was written that I believe Massimo wrote, is talking about usually the issue is blinded by media when they view something as a cult. And the example he gave was, there's a founder of a new religious movement in Romania. And this person taught, like it's very openly taught, that spiritual awakening or enlightenment happens through sexuality. Okay? So in Romania, he was arrested because he slept with a 17-year-old girl. However, in Romania, the age of consent is 15, so he actually didn't do anything wrong. Okay? So he's done nothing wrong. But what the courts did is they constructed and framed this founder to be a teacher. Because in Romania, if you're a teacher, you cannot sleep with your pupils, right? So they constructed and they framed it that the founder is a teacher. So this is why he was taken by police, right? And the interesting thing is, this 17-year-old girl was taken by police and forced to sign a confession, right? And later, after being forced to sign a confession, when she got out, she got her lawyer and went back to the police and said, "Hey, I signed this confession because I was forced to," right? And the police wouldn't accept it. They wouldn't allow it. Right? So even the 17-year-old girl was fine with it, but she was completely coerced into it, that even after being coerced, she went and got her lawyer to tell them, take my signature back. So what eventually happened was, which is quite interesting, like this is where it gets more interesting. This leader was given provisional freedom, like provisional bail, right? And what this person did was, this person cut off their like ankle bracelet and escaped to Sweden. And when he went to Sweden, they were going to try to extradite him, right, to bring him back to Romania. But guess what? The Swedish Supreme Court offered him asylum because they deemed that he had an unfair trial. So even the Swedish Supreme Court looked at Romania and was like, no, this is not fair, right? And what happened was the Romanian justice system gave him a 5-year prison sentence. And this 5-year prison sentence was given when normally, if some other teacher was sleeping with a pupil, the normal time of being put in prison is 1 year, right? So it's so unfortunate, right? And he said that, yeah, this is not all cases, but there are cases where founders of new religious movements are accused of sexual impropriety, and that's like a thing that generally happens, right? And they are affirmed and branded by media as a cult and evil, and that's why this type of things happen, right? And this is one of the things that I think is very, very interesting, and think that I want to touch on that he talked about on Monday, but I'll go a little bit deeper into it the way that he talked about it. I didn't talk about this fully, right? But remember I told you guys that, the people that leave any type of religion or any type of new religious movement, there's 3 categories: the defector, the apostate, and the ordinary leave taker, right? And 80% of ex-members are ordinary leave takers. They just go on with their life. They just want to live their life. They don't want to talk to anyone else. They just want to live their life. That's 80%, okay? Defectors have a very high, image of the religion they left. They just feel that they were not up for it. They weren't good enough for it, right? And the apostate is the person that leaves in bad terms and decides to devote their life to attack the religion in public, and they form like anti-cult groups and stuff like that too, okay? And what people normally do is they confuse apostates with all ex-members. They think that when an apostate comes out and says, "Oh, this is a bad religion, this, and this," the biggest mistake or the thing that confuses a lot of people is they think that apostates and ex-members are the same. When ex-members is like 80%, or like all ex-members are going to be like apostates. But he's like, apostates are a very small percentage of ex-members. It's just that they're so loud, right? And he says, like he said, if you want to know what a religion is really like, then you should be interviewing tons of people who are ex-members, not just those that are loud, right? You got to find many different types of people, right? So here's where it gets the interesting part. He says, in the case of a new religious movement, if 10 people are accusing the leader, right? If 10 people are accusing the leader, the media is going to say like, "Oh, this is such a bad cult and this and that." But he says, think about it. If there's 10 people accusing, 10 people of how many that left? Remember what the latest statistic, the latest thing that Sunseam said is, for all the people that have come and gone to Providence, there's 1 million people that have come and gone. 1 million. So think about this, guys. 10 people of how many that left? We're talking a very, very, even if it was 20, even if it was 30. Like, I'm going to take my calculator out right now. And if you really think about it, if you have 1 million people that left, right? And then how many people like are accusing? Altogether, let's just say there's like, at the moment, there's like 15, right? And 1 million, which means it's 0.0015%. Even if we took 15 people, even if we just took these 15 people from the last two trials, 0.0015%. But he says one of the problems that we have is that we look and say, "Oh my gosh, 10 people have accused. Oh, they can't all be lying." 10 of how many? Are they apostates? Are they defectors? Are they just ordinary leave takers? And he says that's one of the problems that people have is. And he says what makes it even more interesting for Providence is even what Sunseam is being accused of is not even a classic case of real rape. It's not even a classic case. It's so fringe. It's so generic. Like, it's so generalized, right? Anyone, because of brainwashing? And that's he's like, yeah, that's why you really have to look at this very, very carefully, right? You can't look at it in the same way. You have to understand it in a very, very different way. And that's why, for like listening to an expert, remember, there's always going to be the spiritual things that we look at and say, "Oh, spiritually it says this, spiritually it says this, spiritually it says," I understand that, right? But we also need to recognize that there is the social side to it. And when I met Massimo, I'm just like, dude, this guy he might not be looking at it from the spiritual side like we do, right? It's totally not from the spiritual side at all. However, I actually think that, especially when it's a testimony to the world of Sunseam's case, it's actually better. Like, I feel it's actually a better thing the way that he's doing it. And that's why, for me, I'm just like, yeah, it's great to have someone like this testify. I can't wait to see his testimony come out and stuff, because it was really, really powerful for me looking at from the sociologist or from a very academic perspective. And I was like, that makes so much sense. Because people in the world, they're not going to always listen to from the spiritual situation. Like, he's the man of God. Haven't you heard the word? And if you know the word and you realize his history, would God still give the word to someone like this? It's a very spiritual perspective that only people who have faith and have reasonable faith would actually be able to believe it, right? Like someone who loves Jesus. Someone who loves Jesus. If someone said the same thing about Jesus, what would you do? He's like, well, you couldn't. He's a Messiah kind of thing, right? So in the same way, we have to be those, I think that we need to be skilled in all different aspects of this too. So I thought it was very, very eye-opening. Oh my gosh, I've been speaking for 40 minutes already on this first part. Yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this, I guess. Yeah, I hope you do. Either way, you know what? I'm going to split this part off and put it as a second segment. And then I'm going to go re-edit the first part of it and put the evangelism word study, because this is a really, really important part. Either way, so I hope you guys really enjoyed it. So I'm going to pretend that this is the second music break before we get into the world news. So guys, yeah, I'm going to cut this part off and make it the second part. So everyone, before we get into world news, let's move into the last music break of the day.
Trinity, rocks and trees with many miracles, learn and testify. Please be with us. We need you, God, as we walk this path of life. We will face hard times forever. We will run. The truth will prevail. Look, learn, run with the Lord. Look, learn, run with the Lord. Running for this history. Running for this history. Look, learn, preach the word of life. Look, learn, preach the word of life. Preach and testify. Preach and testify. Look, learn, preach the word of life. Look, learn, preach the word of life. Preach and testify for this 1,000-year history.
Okay, so let's get into today's final segment, which is the world news. What is happening around the world? So, just three things that I saw. Well, one, like when we look at these news, look at the news that's happening right now, and even the three things I talk about, you get to see what the world is going through right now. And the first one is about what we know about the deadly Bangladesh jet crash into a school. I'm not sure if you guys heard this, but in Bangladesh, right, they're observing a day of mourning after at least 27 people were killed when a military jet crashed into a school. So many of the victims were students who had just come out of class when an F-7 jet crashed into the Milestone School and College in the capital of Dhaka. The armed forces said that the jet had reportedly experienced a mechanical fault after taking off for a training exercise, with the pilot being among those killed, adding that an investigation would be held. The crash marks the deadliest aviation disaster the country has seen in decades. And while details are still emerging, here's what we know about the crash so far. So how did it happen? Well, the training aircraft was taken off from a Bangladesh Air Force base in Dhaka at around 1 p.m. local time and crashed soon after in this Uttara neighborhood. The Air Force said in a statement that the F-7 jet had suffered a mechanical fault and the pilot tried to steer it to a less crowded area, and he was among those that were killed. A teacher at the college was saying that they saw the plane directly hit the building, right? So it's really, really sad news. Just seeing the pictures here is quite crazy, and very thankful that in a school with 2,000 students, only 27, right? And I think it's a very, very, it's a blessing that it wasn't like that, right? Of the 27, they said at least 17 are children, right? So our prayers go out for all the families that are grieving right now at this time. The second news is about Australia, and they say there's this toxic algae bloom, and it's the premier is like the person in charge of their state or their province, says it is a natural disaster. So what does it mean? So an algae bloom catastrophe, which has turned usually pristine South Australian waters toxic green and has suffocated masses of marine life, is a natural disaster, the state premier has declared. The algae bloom, a rapid increase in the population of algae in water systems, has been spreading since March and is now twice the size of the country's capital territory. So the federal government has unveiled an assistance package to try to deal with this, but they say more than 400 species of marine life have died and local industries are suffering. Right? Like these algae blooms are actually naturally occurring, but it's caused by ocean warming, marine heat waves, and nutrient pollution, and all a direct result of climate change. And this is a huge thing that's happening right now in Australia. Think about it. It's twice the size of the entire state. So it's something that we look at as something we need to pray for Australia too. And then finally in China. China finds a cover-up in lead poisoning of 200 children. So dozens of provincial officials and hospital staff attempted to cover up a lead poisoning case that made hundreds of children sick in northwest China and sparked widespread outrage, as an official investigation has found. The officials tampered with the blood tests of students who were poisoned at this Peishin kindergarten, and this is reported on Sunday, and city officials also accepted bribes from an investor in Peishin while neglecting food safety inspections across several preschools, the report added. And in an attempt to attract more students, Peishin chefs had used inedible paint to enhance the look of its meals. Crazy as that sounds. So food samples were later found to contain lead 2,000 times in excess of the national safety limit. 8 people were initially detained for their involvement in producing the toxic snacks. 6 of them, including the kindergarten's principal, cooks, and an investor, have been arrested, according to the report. 10 other officials will face formal accounting procedures, while another 17 people are under disciplinary investigation. So it's sad when you kind of see the state of how things are being run. It's all for money or image or something along that line. And I do think it's something that we all have to, it's something that we see happening. We know it's part of the times and the times being wicked and what's happening to Sunseam, but it's also a self-reflection is needed on ourselves too, right? If there's something that we need to talk about, we need to confess, we need to say to God, like that is something that we need to also realize and recognize. Even from these types of huge situations, we need to also realize about ourselves too. Okay, so there is, guys. That is the end of today's world news and for the entire Wednesday podcast. Hope you guys had an amazing and awesome day and awesome time together with me. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone,